What's up, everybody? It is Jordan here from Wednesday Night Warhammer with another Warhammer Tactics video. This video is all about mastering the charge phase. So, of course, before we get better at the thing and talk about the thing, let's, figure out what that thing is. And it's declaring charges. We're going to go over just a baseline things that I feel like some people actually overlook some of these things. So just clearing these things out before we get into strategy about declaring charges. Your charge must be within 12 inches. Of course, it's the highest total. You can roll on 2d6, so it makes sense that it's 12 inches. Your charge roll must allow for you to be in engagement with all targets that you've declared while being in coherency with your unit and not an engagement of units that you didn't declare as a charge. So that means if you declare a charge on one enemy unit, when you finish your charge, you cannot be within engagement range of any other units besides that unit that you declared a charge. And vice versa, if you declare multiple units, multiple targets for a charge, when you end your charge, you have to be in engagement range of each and every single unit that you declared as a charge in order for it to be a successful charge. Each model that can end their charge move base to base, meaning their base touching the enemy model's base, if your model can do that, it has to do that. It has to complete their charge like that. And last but not least, this is definitely something that can get a little gamey. You must finish your charge move closer to your charge target than when you start. Some guidelines that I like to keep in mind before I start any of my charges in my charge phase are these. First is you want to do your longest / most important charges first. I hope that you never fail a charge in the rest of your gaming career. I do. That's a genuine hope. However, it does happen. And you want to make sure that your most important charges are lined up first in the crazy case in which you fail a charge. It's not going to happen, I promise. You're going to make every single one of your charges, but in the rare case that you do, let's put our most important charges first so that we still have the opportunity to command point reroll our charge in case we need to. Then, before you start rolling any dice at all, talk to your opponent, measure out each of those charges, and figure out what you actually need to make in order to make a successful charge. The worst case scenario is you roll a dice and you say, oh, it looks like I'm in, and you start moving one of your models, and then your opponent's like, oh, I don't think that actually makes it in, and then you've already moved your models, or your opponent is measuring, and you disagree. So I feel like agreeing on the charge total before you even roll anything is always going to be best practice so that you can both agree with each other before the charge phase goes through, and so there's no disagreement after dice have been rolled, because that can be a tough scenario. Definitely be wary of heroic interventions. I think heroic intervention is one of the strongest stratagems in the game, and we're going to talk about it in detail and in TTS land in a moment. But you want to make sure that if you do not want to be in combat with an enemy unit, that you stay outside of 6 inches. There's another thing that you can do in order to prevent heroic interventions, and I'll talk about that in a different slide, but really make sure that you can stay outside of 6 inches of that unit. And this is actually sometimes a time where you want to roll lower on the dice, because if you roll too high, there's a chance that your models will have to be placed in a way where they're within 6 inches of that spooky, scary enemy unit. And it can lead to maybe not a good time for your charging unit. And then last but not least, this is something that actually comes up more often than you would think. Really take a look and know if you have to charge multiple targets or not. If your opponent's units are interlinked in a way where it's going to be tough to be outside of engagement range of different units than the one that you absolutely want to charge, there might be a case where you actually have to charge multiple units. And then maybe in that case, if you are going to have to do that, then really think about, is that the unit that you want to go after, because it could also end up being a sticky situation with having multiple units in combat. I am super excited again to announce a wonderful giveaway that we are taking part in with our amazing sponsors over at Secondhand Geek. We will be giving away a Tyranid Battleforce box, the Crusher Stampede one. In my opinion, probably one of the best Battleforce boxes that Tyranids have ever gotten. You could get it for free. Actually, you could make money from getting this Battleforce box. All you need to do in order to enter the giveaway is click our affiliate link down below and post a Games Workshop, a Warhammer product of at least $15 for sale on Secondhand Geek. Once you have done that, boom, you are entered in the giveaway in order to get a Tyranid Battleforce box. You could get a Battleforce box and sell a lictor or something. Actually, I need a lictor. So if you could, if you could click the affiliate link down below, post your lictor, I'll take a look at it, see if I buy it. Get yourself a Tyranid Battleforce box for free. A really good idea when you are completing your charges is to move the models that are further away from your charge target first. And this idea is going to do a couple of things. So the main thing is you want to try and move block your models that are closest to the charge target, so that way you can finagle kind of where they can fit. If you're able to move your models that are furthest away from your charge target, there's a chance that you can block your closest units from being in base-to-base contact. The reason why we want to do that is if they are not in base-to-base contact, you can still make a pile and move an additional 3 inches, and you can still finagle where they can be in the fight phase. This can do a couple of things. This can help you move on to objectives, and this can also help you avoid some really spooky heroic interventions that might happen. If you're really careful about where you place your models, you can really dictate where you activate and where you are at when you start the fight phase. Okay, we are in TTS land, and I just wanted to highlight how strong moving your models that are in the back of the squad first can be in order to do a couple of things. There's 2 things that we want to do. One, we want to try and kill this intercessor unit, easy peasy, right? And we want to be on the objective and take it off of the lion. And we want to do both of those things while avoiding heroic intervention from the lion. And I've got a 6-inch bubble right here to show the lion's heroic intervention range. And you can see if we were to move a Ravener here and base this intercessor right there, then the lion would be able to heroic, probably make it in with the charge, and then kill the entire unit with fights first before I get to do anything. So that is like the worst case scenario. So we really want to avoid that. All right, so let's say we rolled a 7 on our charge. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Before I just start doing stuff, let me talk about the problem. This Ravener, if I move this Ravener 7 and just go straight forward and base this guy, right? There's a pretty good chance that the line will just be able to heroic. So instead of letting myself do that and make a game-ending mistake, I'm gonna move this Ravener here, 7 inches. Okay, and there's a couple of things to really look out for. One, this Ravener is not in base-to-base contact, so when I do activate with the Raveners, when I select them to fight, they will then be able to pile in, and in base-to-base contact with that guy, and probably closer to the objective as well. And we are finishing our charge outside of 6 inches from the line, so we for sure will not be heroically intervened. And so now we need to check the other Raveners and see where they can land and if anybody else can base, because we want to kind of prevent that, because we want as much movement as possible. It looks like all of these other Raveners can base to base with these 2 guys. So we want to see if we can kind of move block the rest of them so that they can go over here and get closer to the objective as opposed to just basing, right? So let's say this guy in the back, he could get all the way there and base that guy. This guy in the back could base that guy right there. And this guy is not really going to have a choice. He's going to have to base, right? So let's move. Actually, in this case, we know that this guy right here, we're just going to move him here and immediately base. And then hopefully that will clear up some space. So this guy would still be able to go over there. So we need to move this guy from the back. He can move 7. He could go there. This guy moves 7. Okay, so we'll base right here. So these 3 basing right, or these 2 basing, excuse me, right there. And that is going to actually block these two last Raveners here. And that means that we can move them the full charge of 7 inches. We do not have to move them within that 7 inches, which is very important. We don't have to move our full length. We just have to end closer. So we're going to end in a way where we are outside of the 6-inch heroic. But then these two Raveners, since they can no longer base, the only requirement that they have still is they end within unit coherency and that they end closer to their charge target. So we're going to put this Ravener here, again, move blocking us from going there. And now we have finished a charge successfully. Very key important thing is these 3 Raveners are not in base-to-base contact with this intercessor. So that means they get their full 3-inch pile in. Now that's going to be a different video, but I'm going to show you very quickly what that does for us. So this Ravener moving 3 inches, boom, can go all the way here on the other side of the intercessor. And we can do that because we finish our move in base-to-base contact. Now we need to check this guy can absolutely base here. And that means that this guy would just be able to go here. Before we even fight, we have 2 OC on the point with that guy landing there. I don't know why he's hopscotching up and down. And he will still be able to fight through these 2 other bases. Now, let's say the Raveners kill the assault intercessors. I think it's pretty likely, not assault intercessors, regular intercessors. I think it's pretty likely that they do so. And these 2 guys, of course, could not pile in because they were already in base. And then these guys would just consolidate closer to the objective, putting 4 OC on the point, and then taking the objective from Lionel Johnson while avoiding a scary heroic intervention. Boom, that's how you do it. Wrapping our big points up for this video, just 3 things. If you do these 3 things when you're approaching the charge phase, I think you're going to be successful, and I think you're going to get the results that you would like. 1, agree on your needed charge roll from your opponent before you start rolling. Measure each important charge before you start rolling, so that way when the dice show up in a way you were not anticipating, you already know what you needed or what would be a failed charge in case you need to re-roll. Stay outside of heroic interventions. Again, before you start rolling your charge, mark where 6 inches are from a spooky unit like the Lion or a Fights First Blade Guard veteran squad or something like that, and make sure that you understand exactly where your models need to be in order to avoid that. In addition, move your back models first. Understand which models will have to be in base-to-base contact, and understand where your models will fit in order to move block yourself in a way that can avoid a spooky heroic intervention like from the Lion. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching and all of your support. We were on a little bit of a hiatus for a second. Life gets busy sometimes, but we should be back to our regularly programmed videos here on Wednesday Night Warhammer, as well as Highline Hobbies. Make sure you check out that giveaway. I want you, yes, you specifically, to have a Crusher Stampede box. Post something cool for sale on Secondhand Geek and get one of those boxes for free. But in the meantime, have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you Wednesday. Bye.